This is the Spurs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the San Antonio Spurs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, for a franchise that features some of the greatest to ever do it in the history of the sports, for every Tim Duncan to George Gervin to David Robinson to Tony Parker to Manu Ginobili, tonight Stephon Castle doing something that no other San Antonio Spur has done before, and doing something that only one of the greatest players in the history of the sport has ever done before. Welcome into the Spurs POSTCAST right here on Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one podcast network of the sports variety in the land. He, of course, NBA champion Devin Brown. I'm Casey Viera. Spurs taking care of business tonight on the second of a home-and-home series against the Dallas Mavericks, a 138-125 victory on the back of Stephon Castle. 40 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists. Again, doing something no San Antonio Spurs ever done in recording a 40-point triple-double. A night that, needless to say, my friend, number 5's never going to forget.
Hey, listen, Stephon Castle is moving into some of the areas that we've always wanted as a San Antonio Spurs guard. Congratulations to him on this great night. But Casey, not only Castle played well, we got some others to break down tonight. Let's get into it.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, so as you remember the other day on Thursday when the two teams met the first time, neither could miss in the first quarter. Both shot well, especially on the Spurs side of things. They did today. They go up by 7 after one quarter of play, 39-32. Then in the second, believe it or not, Klay Thompson goes on a little bit of a heater of himself, rattles off 14 points. Not in a row, but 14 points in the first half of the second quarter. And Dallas ultimately brings that thing even. But it was a 32-16 run over the final 7 minutes of the second quarter that really tipped the scale. And where did the majority of it come from? Well, it came from Stephon Castle. It came from his defensive efforts. It came from the fact that he could not miss a shot, period. And it led to stops. He and the assistance of Carter Bryant, more on him in a minute. Ultimately, a 32-16 run with 18 fast break points in the first half completely turns the tide. They go up 83-67, 83 first half points, and the line for Castle already at the break is already looking like a solid night's work of day of work. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. That coming at half. And a 42-point quarter. Victor had 14 at half. And then the third quarter, Spurs, more of the same thing. They break it open from there, but Castle just can't miss at that point. He hits his first 10 shots, not in the third, but ultimately hits his first 10 shots getting into the third quarter. Spurs have blown it open to a 23-point game. And now you're just kind of keeping an eye on where this is going to go. It goes from a 20-plus point night to a 30-point night. And then it turns into a 30-point triple-double. And how does he crack 40? He does it on a putback slam for one of his 12 rebounds. And as a result, becomes the first Spur ever to record a 40-point triple-double, the 9th Spur all-time to record a 30-point triple-double. And believe it or not, the first Spur ever to do it of the points, assists, rebounds variety. Fantastic evening. Vic goes for 16 and 11, Fox 15 and 5. Devin Vassell with 17 points as well in their final game before the Rodeo Road Trip starting next week, final home game. Fantastic, masterful work by a guy who hit a little bit of a rut over the past few weeks, and tonight, needless to say, did not happen.
All right, I'll speak on that. Give me just a second. What I want to hit on, Casey, is the 39 in the first, 42 in the second, and the 33 in the third. Fourth quarter we'll leave out of there. Now, when you talk about Stephon Castle's night, the triple-double, 40, 12, and 12. Now, you're talking 15 of 19 from the floor. And this is the second game in a row that you've seen a monster dunk the way he had off of somebody's miss. Phenomenal. Now, when you talk about the overall stuff, ball movement, The guys playing together, looking for one another. That's what I'm starting to like. Mitch's message to the guys as far as moving the basketball is starting to sink in, Casey. And this is good because you want your team to come together right around the All-Star break. So it's good to see that happening right now. Now, when you talk about Dallas and, we have some critics that say, well, Dallas isn't good. Casey, I think tonight was more about the Spurs finishing off this little mini 2-game set than it is about Dallas.
I think so too. And I think it was kind of one of those deals where they set the tone with that first game, picking up the win, and like they should have done, they're the better team. They did that. And tonight there was never really any doubt after they kind of set the game on fire in the second quarter, and they took off from there. Fantastic showing collectively all the way around. Devin Vassell, I mentioned he has 17. Dylan Harper had 11 as well. Cooper Flagg, he was riding that 30-point heater over 4 straight games. That snaps tonight. He only has 14 points in the defeat for Dallas. 74 points in the paint for the Spurs, end up with 28 fast break points. Collectively all the way around, that moved 36 and 16. Nothing more you could ask for. But going back to Castle, I teased this to you before we went on, and I'm about to hit you with a stat, and I said it off the start. Stephon Castle goes 40, 12, and 12, 15 of 19. So that math is greater than 75% from the field, his shooting. He is one of only 2 players to ever have a full double on 75% shooting. Care to venture a guess as to who the other is?
40, 12, and 12?
Yeah.
Did that other player have a quadruple double with that?
I can't speak to that, no. But that would have been a pretty good night.
All right, so the reason why I say that is there hadn't been a lot of guards, not that I know of, San Antonio-wise, to have these kind of numbers. So, no, I don't know. Tim? I don't know.
No, Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, you're talking about ever? I thought you were talking about with the Spurs.
No, ever. Because there were no other Spurs to do it. That's why I wasn't talking Spurs. No other player ever did it. He's the first player since Wilt
So we're asking Devin trick questions.
I said one player all time. Anyways, whatever. Moving on. All right. Devin Brown, you have kept a close eye on our X Factor tonight. You have been an advocate for our X Factor tonight, and Carter Bryant, needless to say, making you look real good.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
Because that second quarter surge where they took off, it doesn't happen without Carter Bryant. Ultimately, his night read 11 points, 5 boards, 3 blocks, 3 of 7 from the field in 17 minutes of work, consistently getting more and more reps to show and do things and instill kind of that confidence that he has not only in himself but in his team. You mentioned the Mitch side of things, and I think Carter Bryant is one of those guys that's kind of been a beneficiary of that, having that message kind of stick, having that message sink in. You love what you saw tonight. He was physical, got into it a little bit with Najee Marshall on the other end. Probably the best showing that we've seen of Carter Bryant collectively as a whole since coming into the league.
So let me say this, Casey, because not only do you have the intelligence in a Harrison Barnes, and you have the aggressiveness in a Keldon Johnson, and you have the savviness of a Vassell, things like that. Carter Bryant has some guys that are in front of him that talk to him, and he's picking up from each one. He's picking a little bit up from each one, and he is starting to look very good and good. Every single game, 3 more threes today, meaning he's shooting it well. So if you can do that with the way his athleticism plays into the game, you're going to have a really good basketball player. So a shout out to him for his night tonight, Casey.
Yeah, I liked a lot of it too on that front, because it felt like with him, it's just a matter of getting, 1, the reps. Yeah, we know that. But 2, the quality of reps that he's getting. And that's at least a credit to Mitch Johnson, because Carter Bryant was always good in his book from the start of the season. And you know that because Carter Bryant, right from the rip at the start of the season, was getting Jeremy Sohan's minutes. And this is a guy who hadn't at that point played a single second in the league. So Carter Bryant was given the beneficiary of a shot to do this right off the bat. It had a little bit of a ebbs and flows type deal, a whole lot of negative, if you will. Couldn't catch a break, couldn't dunk a basketball, and ironically, he ends up in the dunk contest. And I really think him getting demoted, I say that very loosely, but technicality's sake, to the G League for that one game, for that one night, just to get that extra burn and, you know, maybe put a little bit of something, kind of fire in him, be like, okay, now we're going to take the next step here, dude. And ever since he's come back, he's looked fantastic.
Yeah, no, not only that, and you're absolutely 100% right about that. Let me tell you something. The first games that he would check in and he would check out, he would high five you, encourage you. Now, this is Carter Bryant that I'm speaking of when he goes out. You've seen that change. And I'll tell you what that is. When you're a young player, you want to respect your elders, and you have to do that. That's just the way it goes. But now he has a little bit of a swag about him. He knows that very importantly, he can play at this level. And when you start getting that, you don't see those high fives anymore. He's like, hey, Coach Mitch, don't take me out. Mm-hmm. If you continue to see that from him, he's going to blossom as a player.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I think collectively on both fronts, you saw that in two aspects, a little bit of the young guys, right? Yeah, you know, because you saw it on the Carter Bryant side of things, and then obviously with the Stephon Castle aspect, and that's going to take the headlines, and understandably so. But what's interesting, I think, about Steph, and go back to that and his performance tonight, was that he's been in the league, as we know, a year and a half by now. Know him, love him, know what he brings to the table. Obviously, sky's the limit on his future. This, by the way, his first 20-point game, by the way, since mid-January. The 13th of January, that loss to the Thunder. But this was the first time we've actually seen Stephon Castle take over. Full on, just this game is his. You know, it's always just impactful plays that you see that have a positive end result at the end of the day. But this is the first time that we saw a full-blown takeover of a basketball game. For me, I'm wondering, I'm like, well, now that I see him do it, can he do it again? Like, can this happen? I'm not expecting another 40-point, 30-point triple-double the rest of the season. But we had never seen this aspect of Castle tonight, and I think that's an aspect you got to love.
No, let me tell you something. The fact that he set the bar there, between now, if you're the front office, you go like this. In the next 40 games, it doesn't matter if they're this year or next year or whatever. When you're talking about an individual player, you know what, Casey, I'll go 50 games. If he has 10 more games like this, there's going to be a lot more guys eligible for the market on this Spurs team. Mm-hmm. I expect a guy like Castle to get like this because he has the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. And he has the willingness to do it. I think this is the first step of Castle taking those steps towards becoming that type of players.
Mm-hmm.
Casey.
And understandably so. Now the focus turns the feel-good aspect of tonight to the Rodeo Road Trip, and hoping that Stephon Castle can do more of the same. Probably not, because that was a once-in-a-lifetime performance, but anything close to it you'll take. So coming up on the other side, time to break down the Rodeo Road Trip, because Spurs not coming back to San Antonio until early March. And a whole lot of basketball on the road is on deck. So that's got that kind of lined up for you on the other side of the break, and a little bit more before we get out of here on the Spurs postcast on Locked On Spurs, following a convincing victory tonight over the Dallas Mavericks, moving San Antonio to 36-16 en route after the win. Before we get to all that, though, we step aside to talk with some of our friends who help in driving this program. Good time to grab something to eat. Celebratory eats on deck, you would think. So check out DoorDash. Season's heating up. DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, watching the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash is making the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. You saw it with Stephon Castle tonight, right? And with DoorDash, fans have one too. They keep the snacks stocked, your gear fresh, your watch party vibes absolutely on point. going to be busy with the Super Bowl tomorrow. We know that as well. From tip-off to OT, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Snacks, drinks, gear, and whatever gets you through the season delivered right to your door with DoorDash in their bag and in your bag all season long. Message to the business crowd tonight. As we know, new year, that means new systems. And this is the time that a lot of us look at the messier parts of business, our business, and say, there's got to be a simpler way, right? I'm about to tell you what it is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades that you can make. And that's why this episode today is brought to you by Quo, spelled Quo. And it's a smarter way to run your business comm, because when you have a reachable team, an organized team, one that's communicating on the same line, string, you're not working cleaner, not just working cleaner. You're working with an opportunity to continue to build and connect with your customers. So it's not a surprise that the number one business rated phone system, that's Quo on G2. 90,000 businesses can vouch for it. So make this year a year where no opportunity goes to waste, no customer slips through the cracks, 20% off on your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba, quo.com/lockedonnba with Quo. No missed calls and no missed customers. And finally, FanDuel, Super Bowl Sunday. It is just about here. This time tomorrow, Pats and Seahawks, and also a chance for you to get in on the action one more time before football season comes to a close with Super Bowl 60. They're making sure, FanDuel is, you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. $5, and you get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Get it right, because you're going to win big. Plus 195 is a good deal. Make it count, because after the big game, season's over. That's it. Last call for football on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60, and of course, the NBA as well. Check out FanDuel.com to get started. Just like the road trip is about to get started off the rodeo variety, if you will, for your San Antonio Spurs. Beginning Tuesday, they start way out west for another get-together with the Los Angeles Lakers. This is what it's looking like. Lakers, Golden State on a back-to-back, followed by the All-Star break, and then the two Austin games, Phoenix and Sacramento. At Detroit, at Toronto, at Brooklyn, at New York, at Philly, before back home for Detroit on March 5th, Thursday, March 5th. So that's 9 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games before you guys get to catch up with them again, of course, unless you're going all the way out there to Austin. You're a guy, my friend, who's done the Rodeo Road Trip a couple times, for better or worse. You've been in the middle of it, the grind, for better and worse. The bare minimum of one who's about to go on the Rodeo Road Trip for the first time. What are you telling them?
All right, so right now we're going to just break it down. Lakers, Warriors, let's split that. Okay, in the locker room, let's split that. All right, get out of there. Now, when you come back, you have 2 Austin games. All right, take care of business there, 2-0. We do these things in small portions, Casey. Now, Pistons, Raptors, Nets, Knicks, 76ers. Those are all good teams. Some of those teams are the top teams. We'll worry about that when we have to worry about that. A little too early for that. Right now, Lakers, Warriors. Casey, we need to split that.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yeah, very much so. And I think this is, just kind of another one of those bars, that goalpost that you just try to not move back, but just a test that you wonder that if they're gonna pass. Anything greater than a 500 Rodeo Road Trip, I mean, you take 5 and 4. Like, if that's
all day long,
yeah,
all day long.
Yeah, no, all day long. So I think the aspect of it that if they can come back and continue to show the positive signs of life that they've had, every time we kind of move the goalposts back and ask for just a little bit more to kind of validate the thoughts, the sentiment that we have, they have been doing it. I think another thing for me, though, with this is with something as much of a beast as it is, it's probably important to keep it a little bit more in perspective, not get too high, not get too low with some of the losses as well, because there are going to be losses, barring the insane. There are going to be losses on this thing, and it's how they respond. I will say this, however, I want to bring that bunch back up again. I mean, that Western Conference right there, in terms of the standing at least, they actually kind of catch a little bit of a break because they only faced 4 teams in the Western Conference. So it's one of those deals where they're not in these head-to-head games. If they lose a game like to the Lakers, they're going to make up that ground immediately. They still have a sizable lead over Golden State and Phoenix as well. It would be a little bit heavier, I think, if you saw the likes of Minnesota on there, if you saw the likes of Houston on there. I think those win-loss would be pretty heavy because the latter half of it, after the All-Star break, all East Coast teams, the Pistons, Raptors, like you said, Brooklyn, Knicks, and Philly. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it because this is the best Spurs team to make this rodeo road trip in a long time. I'm bummed because you're not going to see them for a month here in town, so we got to wait. And I know I'm not going to go up to the Austin games, but I'm looking forward to it. You're going to learn a lot about them.
Yeah, no, you're saying everything, but what's important is to remember that not the Lakers and Warriors worry about that. Austin games got you. But Casey, that Eastern Conference swing with those players, with those teams, they are very good teams.
Yeah.
And you'd hate for them to get off to a 4-0, 5-0 start, whatever it may be, and then lose that game at Brooklyn. That's kind of how this thing is trending.
That's kind of the way it's been, yeah.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah. But then again, that's where you go back to it, right? We're saying, all right, well, this is now how valid are you on something like this? Are you going to be able to go out there and beat the Pistons and then a couple nights later you lose a gimme to Brooklyn like that? Brooklyn was here. They gave them hell the first time they were here at the start of the season. I know that was a completely different time, but you never know. It's the beauty of the NBA, right?
That's the beauty of the NBA. Hey, and you never know what teams, what night are going to try and beat up Victor.
I go on a limb and say just about every night. Whether they actually succeed in doing it, I'm not particularly sure. Hey, nobody was beating up our player of the game this evening.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
A one-of-one type of showing, literally, from Stephon Castle tonight. The first player in franchise history to have a 40-point triple-double. Only the second player all time to have a 40-point triple-double on 75% shooting. Only other to Wilt Chamberlain. Not much more you can add to that. Fantastic evening for Steph.
I like how you set that up, but I'm going to add to it. All right, so if you go Devin Brown, Tony, Manu, Tim, Tony, you're in some exclusive company there.
Right.
So when you go 40, 12, and 12 in that Spurs uniform, that puts you in unique company. Congratulations to him, Casey.
Yeah, that was my knee-jerk reaction when I said the one of the two. I was like, it's got to be Devin who's the other one, right?
Hey, listen, it might not be in your Wikipedia, but it's definitely in mine.
Did you do it in high school? I know you cracked 40 a few times in high school. Do you know it was a
49 twice? Yes, sir.
Just one off the big one, man. That's 49 more in a game than I'll ever score. I'll just say that. All right. Next time we do this thing is going to be on Tuesday, following the Laker game, late tip. So be sure to come back for that before the week turns. And we have our Spurs Squad show Monday night with Jeff Garcia. I'm going to be talking a lot about this and talking about the Rodeo Road Trip as well. So be sure to come back for that. I know you guys always do on Locked On Spurs. Regardless of our shows, you're the ones making it fun, making it possible. And we love every minute of it, especially on nights like tonight. A great one, a historic one for Stephon Castle, and a big reason why the San Antonio Spurs are 36-16. Sounds like a good place to leave it tonight, so we'll do exactly that. For my good buddy, Mr. NBA champion Devin Brown, I'm Casey Viera. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday night.